My name is John Gibson. I'm a director at ASI Data Science. We're an artificial intelligence company based in London. Could I get my slides up, please? So yesterday, the US Congress asked their Director of National Intelligence to give them a briefing on the impact that AI and deepfakes will have on political disinformation. And they have to wait until December to get their briefing, but you don't, because I'm going to cover it all in the next 8 or 9 minutes. So I think it's worth starting with just a little bit of historical context. Artificial intelligence is, of course, a relatively new field, but political disinformation is not. It's almost certainly as old as politics itself, but for a very long time it was hard to do well. To achieve impact, you need to have damaging but believable content, and also the distribution channels to get it to your audience. And so in the 20th century, political disinformation did influence political outcomes for sure. For example, in 1924, when the Daily Mail published the Zinoviev letter a few days before a UK general election, but there were few channels with the reach of a national newspaper, and they were pretty hard to co-opt, and so success stories like this were fairly rare. Then the web and social media came along, and suddenly anyone could publish content that reaches millions of people, which brought in this new era of political disinformation that has been discussed so eloquently in this session so far. And I'm afraid that this is going to get worse before it gets better. And that's because developments in AI are about to radically expand the sophistication of fake political content. Consider the contrast. In 1924, disinformation took the form of a claim in a newspaper to have seen a letter in which a political leader made a promise to Russia, and some historians argue this was enough to swing an election. By 2024, disinformation will be a fake video in which you see the leader make that promise with your own eyes and hear it with your own ears. It's a whole new level of sophistication. Let's take a quick look at the developments in AI that are making it possible. So we'll take the visual and audio components of a video in turn. The big breakthrough in the visual domain is a technology called deepfake, which essentially allows you to stitch someone's face onto a video, and so it looks like they're in it. Deepfakes emerged last autumn, and perhaps predictably, the first examples were porn movies in which celebrities like actresses from Star Wars were mapped into them. But it didn't take long for people to think about the impact this could have on politics. And so many of you will have seen the video BuzzFeed released this April, in which the actor Jordan Peele impersonated Barack Obama and had his lips stitched onto a video. But let's take a quick look at it.
This is a dangerous time. Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet. It's a time when we need to rely on trusted news sources. It may sound basic, but how we move forward in the age of information is going to be the difference between whether we survive.
I cut it abruptly there because then it starts swearing a lot. I think it makes the point exceptionally well. But let's consider for a moment what you would need in order to make this particular type of video and how widely available that capability is today. So it required the deepfake code and a lot of professional post-production for the visuals, and an expert voice impersonator for the audio. Now, that's actually quite a high bar. A state agency might be able to replicate this, but truly convincing impersonators are hard to come by, especially if they're required to speak in a foreign language. And it remains very doubtful that a terror group or a lone actor could pull this off. Which is why developments in a second field, audio generation, are also key. The central technology here is called WaveNet, and it was first released by Google in 2016. It allows human speech to be synthesized just by typing in text, and then machine learning models can be trained to make this generated speech imitate a particular speaker. Voice generation is more embryonic even than deepfakes, but at ASI we ran an experiment with the BBC recently to test its current capability. We built a prototype algorithm to synthesize President Trump's voice from scratch, and then tested it against Lewis MacLeod, a professional voice actor who impersonates Trump on BBC shows. Let's see what you think.
what we've got here is two Donald Trumps, neither of them quite real. One of them is an actor speaking sentences written for Donald Trump, and the other is an algorithm, a machine reading the same sentences. And the idea is I've got to decide which is the actor, which is the algorithm, which is the machine. Let's have a go.
Every time I say something these days, it gets badly reported by the fake news media like you guys. Like sometimes I didn't even say it.
Every time I say something these days, it gets badly reported by the fake news media. Sometimes I didn't even say it at all.
So Rory Cellan-Jones, who you saw on screen there, listened to 12 pairings of actor and algorithm and correctly picked the right one only 5 times. Now, to my ear, the actor sounds distinctly more human than the algorithm, but crucially, even though it's a very early prototype, the algorithm already sounds more like Trump. And while there's no reason to expect human impersonators to get any better, algorithms will improve exponentially. And this matters a lot, because if you can synthesize someone's voice, you no longer need actors to make your propaganda. You can do it all from a computer, and this radically democratizes fakery. It means that not only could a state agency generate persuasive videos of politicians, but so too could terror groups, so too could teenagers in their bedrooms. Now, as I said, these technologies are imperfect today, but they're evolving quickly. I think it would be prudent to assume that video synthesis will be perfected and widely available within about 2 years. That is, anyone with a little technical skill will be able to make any politician appear to say anything. And equally, any politician who regrets saying something has a new vector of deniability, even if they've been caught on film. I think the potential for harm is striking. So what do we do about it? Well, the first thing to say is that the genie is already well and truly out of the bottle. The foundational code is out there, it will improve and disseminate rapidly, and governments can't just regulate this out of existence. We need to focus instead on designing solutions to mitigate impacts in a world where this kind of new disinformation is widespread, which means a technology-led approach is required. Just as AI is creating this problem, so too can it help address it. Let me give you just a couple of examples how. First, artificial intelligence can be used for detection. At ASI, we work with the UK Home Office to build technology that can detect Al-Qaeda and Islamic State propaganda videos with a very high degree of accuracy. The same approach can be applied here. Even high-quality fakes will contain subtle patterns that a machine can learn, which makes it possible to build software that can detect them so that they can be flagged. And as fakes get more and more convincing, this kind of detection technology is going to become essential to healthy democracy. Citizens, journalists, activists will increasingly need the means to check the authenticity of political content they encounter. And second, as Anders Fogh Rasmussen rightly said, it's vital that citizens of democracies learn to think critically about the political content they see. And AI can be used in creative ways to help with this education. For instance, in order to teach people how easy it is to fake a video of a politician, let's allow them to make their own political fakes in a safe and controlled way. You can imagine a website which allows people to type in whatever they want and see a historical figure magically say it back to them. Let them make Margaret Thatcher sing happy birthday to their daughter or Ronald Reagan say mean things about their friend's football team. If it's fun and playful, people will engage. And if they share videos with their friends, they'll spread the message that if I can make a political fake, then so too can anyone else. Technology like this, used in smart ways, has a big role to play in combating AI-powered disinformation, but only if it's available to everyone. It can't be the preserve of a military program or a large corporation, and that's why we're very proud to be working with Anders Fogh Rasmussen and the Transatlantic Commission to build a toolkit of AI technology to detect political fakes and to educate people about them. They'll be made open to all citizens, journalists, activists, to provide the means to protect political discourse at the grassroots, right across global democracies. Our hope in this is that the Friends of Democracy can deploy AI to protect our politics more ably than the enemies of democracy use it to undermine them. Thank you.